Okay, so let's talk about the production values of this period of time. Really important stuff happens. So one of them is discussed, I believe, around the time of Elvis and Sam Phillips, but it's pervasive throughout this period, and it was there prior to this period, but never as strong as it became in the 1950s, is the sound of reverb. So here's without reverb. Dry is the way we would call that. It sounds like you're in a padded cell. With reverb, sounds like I'm in the bathroom. So if you go in your bathroom right now, and if there's tile floors or linoleum and tile walls or whatnot, surfaces that sound bounces off of, you're going to hear a ton of reverb. This would be like under a freeway overpass or in a coliseum or a cathedral, right? So this sort of creates an aesthetic or space that the listener hears the song in. So a lot of times, because gospel music was such a big influence on artists like Elvis and others, they're sort of pulling the sound from a church into their popular music, right? And so I believe that's probably what the original inference of this was, or the impetus of this sound. So another sound we hear is the sound of double tracking. So when we learn about Buddy Holly in this chapter, you learn that Buddy Holly liked to double track his guitars. So this is the idea that if you record this part and then you go back and record on another track, and these are combined when you hear the song, it's going to sound like there's two guitars playing the same thing, just makes it bigger and fatter. So Sam Phillips, the producer that worked with Elvis at Sun Records, developed, along with other people, I'm not sure if he's the original developer of this, but basically something called tape delay or slapback delay. And the idea here is when you play something, you're going to hear a resurgence of that sound, just barely delayed, so that it sounds bigger and fuller. That's a pretty late slapback. So I'm showing you it's a really like a sort of a really grotesque example, just so you can hear it really well. So if we make that delay even further away from the original strike of the note, hear how far away they are now. So the way this was done, and there's a little example of this in this week's lesson plan, is there was a tape machine that would record everything you're playing, and the signal from your guitar or instrument is going into it. Could be a microphone. And basically it records everything you're playing, and then it replays it with your signal at a slight delay. And so you also get a little bit of distortion and cool sound that tape causes whenever it records something and plays it back, an analog sound. So if we hear an example of one of the best, I think probably the most important artist from this period is Chuck Berry. If we hear an example of Chuck Berry's most famous song, arguably, Johnny B. Goode, using tape delay, you can really get the feel for why this was so popular at the time. All right, so this is Johnny B. Goode. So it sounds like I'm in an arena or something playing guitar, right? You're hearing this on the voices. You're hearing this on all throughout the next, actually all the way up until now. You hear it all the time, especially in Americana music or country music, but you hear it in literally every style of music. Rap producers are using this all the time. So really important things to take note of are double tracking, reverb, the concept of what these aesthetic ideas, these sounds make you feel like, the space that they make you feel like you're in. So do you feel like you're in a church because of it? Where do you feel like you are as a result of listening to this? All right, more to come.